Us.
Was
Big us, everyone. I hope everyone's well. Shihan Sean, how you going?
yeah, good mate. How are you?
I'm
Us.
great. I'm great. Listeners, we hope you're all well. Shihan Sean and I are doing our best to squeeze in a nice half an hour session here. We have lots on, busy weeks, school holidays here, Shihan Sean, and
Okay.
kids running around, and everyone's trying to do their best and in coordinating meeting times and what to do. So a busy week ahead. But this episode, everyone, is a real cool one. We have some really cool news to share, but we won't share it until the end. Hey, Shian, Sean, we'll let
Yeah,
everyone
yeah, yeah. Keep
listen
everyone on
in
the edge
and
of their
and we'll
seats.
see.
Hang on.
But
Yeah.
some great work done by Shian Sean on certain angles, and myself getting in contact with certain people and of people that we're friends with and that we respect highly, and they are ready to go in the coming weeks to a month because of their timelines. But we'll share that a little bit later. But Shian Sean, there's a little bit of a hint. There's a
In the
little bit of a
background.
hint in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
background there of what's going on. But today we wanted to use your, I guess, interpretation of what's going on in the Japan Chronicles over there, and sharing with us what is a nice, I guess, positive movement of sorts that is happening in the Kyokushin landscape that we haven't really raised as much. But we'd love to get your take on it now. So the floor's yours.
Us. Okay. Yeah. Well, first of all, it's great to see that everyone's sort of getting on board and having a listen, and
Yep.
and there's more and more comments each time, which is really good. Thanks for that.
Yep.
And we just thought we'd do a short one here because, as Sensei Pat has alluded to, and as the background suggests, we've got a couple of great guests sort of lined up. But one person I was always keen to get on was Shihan Yui, who we
Yes.
can, well, you can't really see it in the background, but he's not as tech savvy as the rest of us, and has said that he's always open to me quoting him if I
Yes.
like, sort of thing. So he's really passionate about sharing his ideas, his philosophies, and he's got a blog, and he writes stuff on there. And
Yeah.
a while ago, this was a couple of years ago now, maybe even longer, when he went from Godan to Rokudan, and he talked a bit about rank, and he talked about it to quite a lot to
Yes. Yes.
in depth in his blog, and so I translated it into English. And basically, what he said was, it's and this is something Shihan Graham said to me the other day as well when I said, "Oh, I've got the new tab on the
Yes.
new stripe on the belt," and he goes, Shihan Graham, it was great. He goes, mate, at the end of the day, it's just a bit of bling that people look at. He said, but he said, on the other hand, it's a great record of the journey, and I thought
Yes.
that was a
Yes.
great way to put it.
Yes.
And it's very much in line with what Shihan Yui talks about. What is
Okay.
that any rank you get? I mean, it's an indication of where you are on your journey, but it's then your responsibility to add value to that, and that
Yes.
if you don't, so having a rank and being a rank, it's something I talked about before.
Yeah.
But Shihan Yu is a great person. I mean, you go back to his days as an uchideshi for Sosai, and he was, one of his runabouts, his gophers, and he went on
Yeah.
all these trips. And, this was back in the day when Matsui Kancho was, maybe still only a Nidan or something like that, and that they were working a lot together and stuff. So he's got lots of stories. But now and again, he'll pop stuff up on his blog that gives us a lot of food for thought. So I thought what I'd do is share
Yes.
one of his recent blogs. So a couple of things today I'm going to talk about. One is his recent sort of blog articles, and another thing is one thing it's put a bit of bee in his bonnet is a lot of Sorsai's memorabilia is now being sold online. So the two things we're going to talk about today because that's what's going on in Japan.
Yeah, that's mad. That's great. Yeah, I
Yeah,
was very excited. I'll let you do what
yeah.
you need to do there, but
But
it
and
was
then and
very.
then towards the end we'll talk about what's going on in the Kyokushin world, and that sort of leads into the people we've got coming up on the show in the near future.
Let's
Anyway,
do it. Awesome.
so anyway, let me actually I might get you to make me co-host if you haven't
Oh,
already.
here we go. So just a sec.
Yeah, see the screen.
All right. Well, here we go. Goodo.
Here we go. Right, so here we go. I'll just put this to full screen so it's easier
What a
to
cool
see.
picture with Sosai Oyama there. Look at that.
Yeah. So this is Yuri Shihan here. And in this latest blog, or this was on the 21st of June, he's
Yes.
talking about Shito Uchi Uchi, okay? And you can see that's the technique he's performing
Yes.
there. And the one thing he goes on about here is that, he's used this photo a lot, but and he was used as one of the models in one of the instruction videos that Sosai produced.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing he likes to do, Shihan Yui, is get really technical about, body movements and getting everything in sync.
Mm-hmm.
And he uses the Shito Uchi as one example. And he was talking about how, when you're doing it, a lot of people tend to get the chicken wings and they get
Uh-huh.
into this lazy approach. And he's talking about, really keeping your arm in tight, and when people focus too much on the technique itself as it's coming out, they're not really conscious of all the other working parts in the technique.
Right.
Now, one thing he emphasized in this recent sort of article here, and it's in Japanese, and I'll just do a very simplified
Please.
translation of it, is how your tanden, or that lower abdomen,
Mm.
is working, and how you should be focusing on keeping your arm in tight so it rubs against your ribs, but
Mm.
that you're not actually striking from the arm as such as you're striking from the
Mm.
tanden. And the tanden goes back to Buddhist breathing and techniques and all of that sort of stuff that all the
Yeah.
Buddhist monks used to do.
Yeah.
Uh, so he what he's saying here, and it's a nice little instructional blog
Yes.
on, something that Sosai always used to talk about was, focusing on where you're striking, keeping everything in tight, and striking from the pit of your stomach rather than just your arm. And the hikite, which is another big thing about that Yui Shihan talks about a lot, is how when you're bringing this other hand back, you're really conscious of tucking that elbow in so it closes up your shoulder blade.
Uh,
And what that does is it opens up your other shoulder blade so you're getting that maximum strike coming
that's
out this way as well.
nice.
You know,
Yes.
and we see it in the dojo all the time, people getting lazy and they're doing these sort of
Sure.
rounded the seconds and that, rather than keeping it in really tight and really working that hip, which means that you're working the tanden as well.
Mm.
Um, and another thing he goes on about here, Sosai always used to say, take all that tense feeling out of your shoulders. Once you're focusing on this rib area and keeping the hand in tight, striking from the tanden,
Mm.
and really focusing on where you're hitting, then all these other thoughts go out of your head, and you're in that sort of mushing state, that state of no mind, like you're in the moment. You're not
Mhm.
overthinking things. So he likes to share these
That's
teachings
cool.
in his blog a lot, and so that's something he often goes on about, and that he's really a stickler for kihon, and if you can sort of create this passage when you're striking of simplifying everything and making sure everything is in sync,
Mhm.
that your kihon base becomes the engine for all of your techniques, and that he sort of uses a fine-tuned racing car as an example,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
as a bit
Cool.
of metaphor, and he goes, you could work on all this power and strength and have, the biggest chest and the biggest arms and the biggest shoulders. He goes, but if you're not fine tuning those small parts of the engine and constantly tuning them up, it doesn't matter how much body strength you have or how much stamina you have, it means nothing at the end of the day. It's like a racing car. If any small part of the engine is off sync, then it's not going to work.
Yes.
This is something that Sosai always talked about, that he talked about it being the strongest karate because you did it in a way through your kihon where you're constantly polishing the minute areas and then everything comes together. So,
Mm.
it's just a nice thing that Yu Shihan does from time to time where he'll share some of the teachings he's got from Sosai, not only in class when you're training with him, but also he'll and in the middle of translating this anyway, and then I'll send it to him to put it up in English. But these kind of things are worth their weight in gold.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's cool. That's great of him to allow you to do that and for you to share it with us. That's fantastic because I do follow him on Facebook, and I recommend everyone else does because it just keeps the insight there. But then we do the whole I don't, and then there is some translation that obviously Google does or whatever the social media platform does, but you can tell it's not it's not the essence of what he's really, really trying to say because it's lost in translation. So that's awesome. Loved hearing that. Nice reminder of the Tanden as well. Tanden, I guess again, I'm not talking on behalf of all dojos here, but it gets referenced like from Shihan Cameron or from a you or someone that is hearing that word or that language a little bit more than what we hear here. Until you get reminded again, you're like, oh, of course, the hip core movement. That we say it in that manner, don't we? The core. But Tanden sounds even cooler, to be honest. But then keeping that all together. So
well, I guess too, if you're more focused on the lower abdomen, it drops your center of gravity.
Yeah.
Shihan used to go on there. It's not about like being in Sanshin Dachi and totally thinking about gripping the floor all the time.
Yes.
It's about lowering, knowing where your power's coming from, and it's the pit of your stomach, which is directly linked to your hips. And if you've got that good hikite sort of habit happening where you're keeping everything and you're realizing you're closing up this shoulder blade to open the other, it goes back to maybe Kano Jigoro in the judo world, where he talked about minimum effort, maximum efficiency.
Yes.
So if you're looking at everything, and you over separate everything, you tend to miss it. And if you can bring it back to that core, and you train that core, it's going to have benefits in your kihon. And then with your kihon, and something he's talking about in here is that, even if you are overstretching with the strike, it's still going to be, it's still going to have a lot of effect because you've created those good habits. And he says he can't say it enough. Taking your time to work on those good habits is going to pay dividends not only in your kihon.
One thing, Shihan, there that just I wanted to add before I forget was, in kihon and in our basics, that I guess again we not tend to forget, but because we're testing our techniques when we do kumite, we get to test the kicking and the punching. But as I say to my students, almost 80% of the kihon or 90% of our kihon is not used in tournament slash sport knockdown karate. So shutos, you can't just go in a tournament, bang, use your shuto. So there is a part of the technique that is not as tested as often and as well as we do in kumite. So this is where just as a reminder, and even Shihan Cameron does it on his YouTube channel, where to test it, this is the makiwara type of training, and the makiwara type of shuto and I when I'm at the playground with the kids, I'm not saying I'm super cool, but there's always wooden posts around, right? In playground. And I'm just there going, boom, boom, just trying to just condition it and to test it. And there's an element there that you've just reminded me of. You got to practice it a little bit more in a realistic way. How do you do that? To make sure that all those fine tuning things are done, because you can do it in a car. You can test a car. You can test it. In basketball, we would call it the free throw, the shooting arm, but we can test it. Why? Because it gets measured by what? Going in the ring, or it gets measured in a car if you first, second, third. But in this motion, in the motions that we use in shutos or in other techniques that are not tested, other than, fighting in real time. And where are you going to do that? How are you going to go up to someone and grab someone? So there's and in grappling, in the grappling game with the training that I do outside of Kyokushin, you can do that. You'll be so surprised that your shuto mawashis on a grabbing of the lapel, and then someone and there's non-compliant and compliant type of understanding, right?
Yep.
Non-compliant meaning the guy doesn't know what's going on. Compliant means he does. Wow, that it opens your eyes to
Yeah.
so much cool stuff that you're like, oh my god, it's right there, it's right there. I've grabbed the gi, I've pushed, pulled there, and then I can do a kake in the back of the neck. Now I can push the head
Yep.
down.
Yep.
Your senkutsudachi stance all of a sudden opens up now, and there's
Yep.
another world that comes in. So I'm just trying to reinforce that the basics of what you've explained to us from Shihan's blog. Now you've got to test it, listeners. You've got to try and find a way. What that way is, we can do that. We can break that
Yeah,
down.
it's not just a set of techniques you do as part of your kihon training. You've always got to place yourself in that space where you think, well, where could I actually use this? And like shtos or shortes or whatever,
Correct.
where you are in close and you've committed to that shorter distance. Who's not to say that you can get the maximum sort of effect out of it, a small strike, into the ribs or into the solar plexus if you want to open it up to a shote if you want to do that as well. So there's taking it from kihon to that practical
Yep.
sense. Where does it work? But if you practiced in kihon the right movements, you're going to get that maximum power out of it, and you don't need to be a huge person to sort of use it with some effect. So that's some of the things he's talking about.
Very
And
good.
as you can see on the screen here, he's quite diligent. He does a lot of different sort of articles and that, and they've been using the old hombu quite a bit for
Yes.
different training sessions. So he always puts stuff up on there.
Very good.
But one thing is, I'll just show you this one here.
Yeah.
He started to notice that a whole lot of Sosai's memorabilia was being,
right.
I won't say pawned, but yeah, well,
Sure.
I don't want to go into the nitty gritty, but because
Look
then
at
it gets
this.
a bit political and stuff. But you can see photos here like
Yeah.
Sosai's suit, his shirt. Here's his suit with his name stitched in the back. All of these are being sold.
What's going on, man?
This place is called Todokan, and it's a pro wrestling site shop, but it also deals in a lot of memorabilia. Okay, so
That is passport.
yeah. So okay, so let me go through.
I'm blown away.
I won't go into the reasons why
Okay.
this is being sold on this site because it'll open me up to someone getting their knickers in a twist.
Sure.
Let's just say someone who had all of Sosai's memorabilia,
Yep.
obviously family,
Yep.
had this place hold on to it for them for certain reasons, but then at the end of the day, that they now are allowed to sell them. Now, here you have at the top, and okay, so this is in Japanese yen. This is 10 million yen, which is 100 grand.
Yes, 100,000
Okay,
Australian.
so
Yeah.
so this is stuff of Sosai's. It's the horn of the bull. Okay, so if you have a look at this photo here, that he snapped off, the shorts he was wearing, the belt he was wearing, the photos of it, all of that is something that was in the museum. So there's the bullhorn there.
Yeah.
All of this as a set is going for 100 grand. Okay, so that's one thing. All right. Here is his dorgi that he wore in 1994. This is 2.5 million yen, so 25 grand if we want to go 100 yen to the dollar. Okay, so this is the dorgi he wore between January in Mitsumine.
Okay.
At the winter camp in Mitsumine. It's got an explanation here. Okay, so this is his dorgi that he won.
Tell me the obi? Is the obi included?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so all of that, count the stripes. There's 10 there, and this is a photo of him at that camp. So this was the dorgi he was wearing. So that's for sale.
What is going on, man?
His passport, and this is his Japanese passport because he was naturalized and he had a Japanese passport.
Yes.
Okay, because Sosai was born in Korea
Yes.
at the time where Japan occupied Korea. So Japan occupied Korea between 1910 to 1945.
Right.
And so anyone born during that time was Japanese. So he had a Japanese passport.
Oh, I
Okay.
see. Wow.
So,
Okay.
I mean, maybe he had both afterwards.
Sure,
I'm not
sure,
sure
sure.
of the details. Maybe Shihan Cameron will be able to
Yeah.
enlighten us a bit more on that. But yeah, this is the passport he had in 1971. Okay, his Japanese passport there. Okay, and
And where he's
here you can
gone.
see all the places he went using that passport from 71 to 75. So San Francisco, Taipei, New York, Alaska,
Mm,
Korea. Okay, so it's got all the stamps in there.
yeah.
There's the cover. That's going for about 4,000, yeah, $4,800. Okay, um,
That's 48,000. That's 48,000.
48,000 yen. So it's about
No,
all
that's
close to
full.
5 grand, five
Oh,
grand
okay.
Australian.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Uh,
5 grand
yes.
Australian.
Sorry.
That's
Sorry. Yep.
25 grand. That's a
Got you.
hundred
Got
thousand.
you. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
Here's a
Oh my
jacket.
God.
Here's a jacket. Well, this is a suit.
Yeah.
Okay, full size. This is 3 grand, give or take a few yen. Okay, that he wore in 1993.
It's all tailor made.
Okay,
Tailor
yeah,
made.
all tailor made with his embroidery there, his pants. So anyone that's an absolute fan or
Oh
a
my
collector,
goodness.
this was something. This is what 2,700, yeah, close to 3 grand as well. This was a 10th year commemoration thing put together after his to commemorate the passing of Sosai.
Oh.
Um, a framed thing here. You can see they, a belt. They
So,
had a belt made up. They
so
had
I've got
a
some
main cuff
questions.
in the
I've got
fist. Yeah,
I've got some questions. Do you mind scroll like again just scrolling down and I'm sure we'll share this link obviously,
yeah,
but not to be too rude about it. So
yeah.
how many items do these does this how many items I'm trying to look at your webpage there like is look at this.
Okay,
Look
so
at this.
yeah, all of this
Oh
ties.
my
Ties
god.
are going for about $550.
Okay, so we got is mate. If there's 20, sorry, Shihan, if it's
Yeah.
got 20 pages down the bottom there, do you mind clicking on page 19 just for now?
Okay, so page 19. So
Stop
I
it.
I I did a
Uh,
search and I put the most expensive first up here. Once you get to 19,
yeah.
it's more the magazines, the old
Okay.
Power Karate World Karate magazines. So they're three or these are back
Keep
issues.
talking. Keep talking. Yeah.
So they're $3, $4. World Karate, Power Karate, different books. We'll go to page 17 here. Yeah,
I,
different books, different martial arts
I bought
magazines.
a magazine in Ikebukuro in the Budokan shop, and it's in my safe. I was looking in my in my bookcase there. I was going to show you all, but I've got it hidden away. I don't like anyone touching it. But I was looking there. I was going to show you it. Wow. Okay.
This
This
one
is
here,
unbelievable.
$6 for Matsui's 100-man Hyakunin Kumite, which was, there's a few different rumors about that. We won't
So
go.
So there's going to be a lot of questions coming out of these listeners. There's no
Yeah,
doubt about that. Obviously, Shihan Sean's got an inside take on what's going on in sharing this. If you've got questions, best to obviously put them up on our
sure.
comments because that does help traction and it does help lots of other things.
Mm, mm.
And more so our promptness as well, because Shihan Sean gets the messages before me as well. So that'd be great to get some messages. But this is some fascinating stuff, isn't it?
Oh yeah. So
I mean,
basically, what it was all of his memorabilia was at Hombu for the longest time, and there was a
yeah.
memorial sort of museum set up part downstairs where you could
Yes.
go in and look at all this stuff. However, it was handed off to this company for various reasons, um, and
Okay.
they now have the right to sell it. Again, I can't go too much into that.
That's fine. That's
To
fine.
put a two and two together there, but
Yeah.
let's just say it was
Yeah.
it's created a lot of stir. Like Yui Shihana said that because he didn't know this was going on. He said had he known, or did if he had the cash, he tried to buy it all up, because what he's fearful of is someone who doesn't really appreciate all of this, just a collector who's looking to buy and then on sell.
On sale, yeah.
Whereas, if people within the Kyokushin world were able to put a bit of coin
Wow.
together and make sure it stays in a place where it
You
will
know
be
what?
given the respect it deserves. But
I'm talking out of my brains here, and I
mm,
should take this offline. But with people listening and with what you've just said, could you imagine we started a GoFundMe page under your guidance and approval,
yeah,
and again, not see what we get to, but try to capture as much as we could out of this,
mm,
and
mm,
then give it to, and then pass it on to Shihan Yui or Soshi Hazigawa.
mm.
Could you imagine? Again, we'll go
Yeah,
offline, but for
yeah.
people listening, or if you're a wealthy Kyokushin listener, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
if you
But
just recently won the lotto and you've got a bit of
yeah,
cash to spend, yeah, send it to me. Uh, I'll negotiate with these people and get it at a better price for you. And the commission won't be hefty either. I mean,
this guy.
couple of beers, couple of
Yeah,
beers, and I'm
no,
happy.
you are very good with the couple of beers. That is,
Yeah, yeah, I'm good with a couple of beers. The
well,
trans
how cool.
get
Thank you for
loose after
sharing.
that.
Thank you for
Yeah, so I
sharing
mean,
that.
it
That's
has
awesome.
caused a bit of a stir.
No
Some
doubt.
people aren't happy, but it's out of their control now. Obviously, within Japan, some of the more well-to-do people are trying, within the Kyokushin world, are trying to secure some of this. But again, at the prices they've set here, like this shirt here of Sosai's that he wore in
10,000.
1993,
Yeah.
that's basically in Aussie dollars, it's $1,500.
Yeah.
His famous Aloha shirt here, that he was often seen wearing, having a good old laugh there, maybe a few beers there,
Yeah. 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 Very
um,
good.
6 sheets into the wind perhaps.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
This one here is close to $1,000. It's just ridiculous. But because it comes at such a premiere now,
Sure.
they can ask for these prices, and people that really want them, all of the ties that he wore are like $500 or $600 a piece. Different posters, different things
Ooh,
from yesteryear. It's
man.
just absolutely crazy. So that's what's happening in Japan at the moment, causing a
Okay.
bit of a stir. But yeah, as I said to the
Great
listeners out
update.
there that have just recently won Lotto, send
Yep.
me an email, and we'll see
Yep.
what we can do.
Yep. Well, I look forward
Um,
to getting some emails once we post this, Jan. Well,
yeah,
that is so cool. Thank you for putting that up and sharing that.
that's all
That
right. No
gives
worries.
there is a part of me smiling because it's such a cool thing to see, and then there's a part of me cringing in my bones.
Yeah, yeah,
But again, this isn't the platform for us to do that type of stuff where we have to stay true to what we're doing here. So, that is a great update from your end,
yeah,
Shian.
yeah.
Let's share some news. Let's
Okay, so
go for it. You
so
share
yeah,
yours. Yep, go for it.
all right. So yeah, we've one of our main goals with doing this has been to share as much information in the most correct way about what's going on in Japan, and we'll continue to do that. But we really want to get some people on that can share their experiences, share their thoughts, their philosophies. So I reached out to this gentleman here. Where are you? There we go. There you go.
Yeah,
This gentleman here,
yeah.
Ryu Narushima, okay, who is, for anyone that knows their Kyokushin, will know, a lightweight fighter of exceptional technique.
Mhm.
Um, was Matsui's sort of, I wouldn't call him his second in charge, but he was his poster boy for a long time. He had him working on different technical videos. He is a fighter in his own right, has always done very well. Just put his name in YouTube and
Oh,
you'll see his career unfold. An exceptional fighter. So I reached out to him and I said, because he left IKO 1
mhm.
2 or 3 years ago. The reason being that his father had his own dojo, an independent, a non-Kyokushin dojo, and that's how Ryu Narushima Shihan got his, sort of feet wet in the world of karate, and then he joined Kyokushin when he was a young lad. He's since left to go back to take over his father's dojo, right? So it's called Narushima Dojo, and it blends his experiences from Kyokushin, but also his father's teaching. So it's a blend of traditional and full contact as well.
Right.
But Narushima Shihan has recently featured a lot in the Kyokushin World Union Federation Senshi camps.
Mm-hmm.
He's over in Bulgaria at the moment, along with Masuda Shihan,
Mm-hmm.
along with Nick Pettis,
Yep.
and all the, Filio Shihan, etc. They're all over there for a week. So I reached out to him and I said, now that you're not,
Yes.
bound by restrictions of the faction you used to belong to, would you be keen to pop on for a bit of a chat? And he got back to me within a day saying, yeah, I'm in Bulgaria, and then I've got to head off to Chile or something about a week after that. He said, but if we can find a time in July sometime, he said, I'd be happy to. So, yes, there we go. We've dropped the bomb.
That's
He's
great.
going to be on the show, and we
How
just got
good.
to coordinate the time. And
Yes.
that led Sensei Pat and I to talking a bit more.
Yes.
So Sensei, you can drop bomb number
Yeah,
two.
then with Shian's timeline there, in that interview and that opportunity, we were like, okay, well, I was watching, and we're all close in a way, friends, social media wise, with Sensei Nicholas Pettis, and Sensei's got a lot happening at his hand. He's so vibrant, so much fun, so funny. He and I communicate often, as do you and he, and I put out to him. I said, "Look, it'd be great. We've got a window here in the next couple of weeks." But again, he's off to that tour as well. So he just said, "Hey guys, sounds great. Love to do it, and love to get him back on." But again, we got to position this on the Japan Chronicles side, which is the fun part, and what's keeping Sensei Nick busy as well. So we'll have him when he gets back. He said to hit him back up, and we'll try and tee up a time as well. So, listeners, we've got some cool, amazing guests coming on in the coming month.
Yeah, so, I mean, before we end, I guess the thing is for either Narushima Shihan or Sensei Nick, if you've got any questions or anything about Japan you'd specifically love to hear from them, get in the comments, and it could be the simplest of questions. No question is a bad question in my books. Any question is a good one. If you've got any question, anything specific you'd like to ask, with Narushima Shihan, we're going to be doing it in Japanese, but we'll have subtitles down below. Once we've edited it, we'll put subtitles there so you can listen and read, as you go. But to do that, we've got a ton of questions, but we'd love to hear yours. And the same with Nick as well. If there's previous conversations you've heard and there's something else that's triggered a question from those, or just, what's Nick doing now? Because he's back in the Kyokushin scene. He's been to Montreal last year. He's going on these KW camps quite frequently now. He's got, this passion to give back in his own different way, which is really great to see because the guy's just, he's a wealth of, knowledge and experience. So he's going to, let us know what went on over there as well as what he's doing in Japan and what's rekindled his passion, so to speak. But yeah, if you've got questions, just put them down there and we'll do our best to include them.
Awesome, Shihan. Thank you so much. What we fit in the time nicely. I respect you for that. Thank you for that as well. Listeners, fantastic. Great summary. Lots to cover. Bits and pieces of what Shihan Sean's getting momentum with, of what he put down is taking fruition. And as you can all appreciate, and as Shihan Sean is now being a part of a podcast or a show like this, it's, as I say in ways of thinking, slow and steady wins the race. We're not here to try and pump out what we can, how we can, and rush things. And we're here to enjoy it as well. And we hope you are as well. And the more you can promote and endorse what the Kyokushin Shuffle and the Japan Chronicles does, even better. And again, we end these calls chatting for another 5-10 minutes afterwards, and then fire up again, and it gives us momentum with what's going on. But again, the biggest part of it all is Shihan Sean's on the ground there in Japan, giving us great insights of what's going on. So thank you for your time again, Shihan. Us, everyone.
Sensei.
Take care.
Us.
Keep training hard. Secret is sweat. Is it not? I think it is.
Is it not?
Take care.